growing indications that the preparations are well underway for a conflict between the United States and Venezuela. How will the world respond if the U.S. carries out such an action? Will Congress get involved? Does the president have the support of his own party to take such an action? And what kind of resistance could U.S. forces meet from a Venezuelan military? Today, we take a look. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us once again here on the channel. We want to take another look at Venezuela, as there continue to be growing signs that the U.S. is putting the elements in place to carry out major military action on the country of Venezuela. A new report from the Miami Herald says that the United States is preparing to strike targets inside the country. Now, this would be a significant escalation in the U.S. stance against the Nicolas Maduro regime. Now, the Herald reports unnamed defense officials claim that precision strikes are being considered in response to alleged threats posed by Venezuelan military movements. Now, the United States and Venezuela have not exactly been allies. Much of the world has disputed some rigged elections in Venezuela that have kept an effective dictator in power in Nicolas Maduro. There has been very adamant opposition. In fact, one of the leading opposition leaders against the Maduro regime, who's now in exile, just recently won the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts to bring freedom to her country. Is that what the United States is doing here? Well, on the surface, no. The Trump administration has carried out attacks that it claims is trafficking drugs into the United States from boats. No evidence has been supplied that any of these boats were actually carrying narcotics. Dozens of people on these boats have been killed. As many as 3 have survived, and so far the 2 that were taken into U.S. custody were never charged with any kind of trafficking. They were released without charges back to their home country. So first, let's talk about Venezuela's military, because the question is, can they put up any kind of a fight when it comes to whether it's a U.S. invasion or, more likely, targeted airstrikes by the United States Navy and Air Force? Well, according to independent intelligence analysis, the country of Venezuela has approximately 109,000 people in active military service. They also have a 220,000 strong paramilitary force. Air assets include more than 225 aircraft, including 30 fighters and 88 helicopters. Land forces include 172 tanks, more than 8,800 vehicles, and more than 180 artillery units. Of course, this would be the major advantage that the United States would have when it comes to simply carrying out targeted airstrikes as opposed to a more significant invasion or military action. But despite Venezuela's military limitations, it does hold the largest proven oil reserves in the world, over 300 billion barrels. That resource has been central to its geopolitical leverage and also a potential flashpoint. What any such action would do to the global oil price market, as well as gas prices here at home, is anyone's guess. Venezuela's defense budget stands at more than $4 billion, of course dwarfed by the United States military spending, now approaching $1 trillion. Venezuela's external debt exceeds $110 billion, and its foreign reserves are quite limited. While the U.S. has not officially declared war, in fact, technically the United States hasn't declared war since World War II, the reported consideration of military strikes signals a shift from diplomatic pressure over the last decade or so to potential military action. The Maduro government has condemned reports of a U.S. strike in the planning, calling them, quote, imperialist aggression. Now, experts warn that any conflict could destabilize the region, trigger refugee flows, disrupt global oil markets. Venezuela's asymmetric capabilities, such as a paramilitary force and guerrilla tactics, could prolong any conflict if any such military action were to take place on the ground, whether that be a large group of ground forces, something that is least likely, or, as President Trump has already publicly said, carrying out covert actions on the ground in Venezuela. So the question now that everybody is asking is, will President Trump actually take this step? There are some reports that Secretary of State and also National Security Advisor Marco Rubio is the one leading this effort in building up towards military strikes. Can he convince the president to take such action? And what is the benefit for the American government? Would this actually stop the flow of illegal narcotics coming into the United States? And would the public support military action after decades of prolonged war since 9/11? These are all of the factors playing into not only the decision, but the eventual outcome of the impact on the United States and its citizens. So as tensions rise, we'll continue to watch closely and find out if diplomacy can prevail or if we are about to embark on a new conflict. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments section below if you support such military action in Venezuela and how far you think the United States should go. Of course, as always, like and subscribe to the channel as we continue to produce more content. Thanks for watching.